Conversation by Annette Andrews. Annette, how are you?
I'm really good, thank you, and thanks for the invite to join you.
Listen, it's always a pleasure to chat. Um, you're an expert in the world of people and culture, and the last few years have been an interesting time. How have we evolved and matured as a society in this field, or have we not?
Gosh, the last 2, 3 years, even more, have been a bit of a roller coaster for all of us, haven't they? And as a result, how people work together, how they connect, how they're managing their lives, both personally and professionally, has changed dramatically. But also, a group I particularly feel for is leaders. This has been a challenging time to be a leader. So spending a lot of time now with leaders, helping them on thinking about those changes, manage those changes, and also think about their emotional intelligence and connecting with people, but also helping people cope with all the change as well, and changing it from a reacting being done to how can we move forward and how can we make the most of this and in fact optimize it.
And do you think has there been a point where it's like people's minds have shifted away from just dealing with it to actually thinking forward? And what was that point?
This year for me, and so I'm talking 2023, I've noticed a shift, and in the last 6 months, and I'm calling it the switch, where people are going from, this has been pretty tough, personally, professionally. It's not just pandemic, it's political, economic, all the geotensions that are happening, to saying, look, we have to get used to living in a world where it isn't going to settle down. It's not going to go back to where it was. What can we do to, one, equip ourselves for coping with this as best as we can, individually and together, but two, as a business and working with our clients, how can we move forward?
And where'd you start?
Oh, it's a toughie. It's a toughie.
I was like digesting that. I was like, that's big stuff. Where do you start?
It's really tough. So I always start with the business. Where is the business now? Where does it want to be? There's usually a business strategy. I really like to understand where the business is and where it wants to go. I can then work with organisations to identify, as a result, where are their people? Have they got them where they need to be? Or are there certain aspects they really want to focus on to help shift them and the business to where they want to be? Once I understand that, and I've done that work already, I can then go down a layer of detail and focus on areas that are either being already identified or help organisations tease those out and look at how do we move this forward. Because you can't do everything at once. It tends to be too much. So it's identifying those key levers. And guess what? It tends to be around culture, tends to be about engagement, and making sure there's a very clear purpose and people are connecting to that purpose.
It's like fate, because this is exactly the question I was going to ask you.
Oh, really?
Those 3 points, like ultimately, it's all that's been talked about for the last while. Are businesses now actually wising up to the reality of what this means, or is it still lip service paid to it?
Again, I think there's been a shift. And you're spot on. Historically, it's been a bit lip service, dare I say it, and also tick box. If I do this, something magic will happen. Whereas actually now what I'm seeing, and I'm so pleased to see this, is an absolute recognition that leadership is the key enabler.
Right.
So we really focus and invest in and really look at our leaders, how they're doing, what they need, and how we can equip them to lead, but personally and professionally as well.
Yeah.
Right. Then the other bit I really focus on with people is creating that, it's all about emotional intelligence. So there is now increasingly a recognition, again, very grateful for this, that actually emotional intelligence is the differentiator. We've all got skills, knowledge, experience, but we haven't necessarily tapped into our emotional intelligence. And that is really, really important for leaders to be able to do. And that, again, is a differentiator. Then...
Sorry, go on. No, please finish.
Well, I was going to say what's really important organisations don't do is just focus on their leaders and go, right, we've done that. We don't have to worry about the rest of the organisation now. It's actually then really important to take some of those things through to employees and the total population, so you get a connection between the rest of the population and their leadership. And that's where the magic happens, that connection.
Well, that's properly fascinating. So let me ask then, are you seeing kind of the next wave of leaders or potential next, are they coming through with more emotional intelligence, or is it still something that we have to be trained in and understand better?
So we've all got emotional intelligence to varying degrees. The good news is it can be developed throughout the majority of our lives, way into our 50s, 60s, which is great. However, historically, for those that are, and I feel I can say this, more mature leaders, our education and our initial professional development was focused on our skills and knowledge and the doing. We were never really encouraged to step back, think, reflect, and tap in to that emotional intelligence. So you can absolutely help people do that. And it's around taking the time out to help them recognise the value of it and then developing the skills around it.
I had a question, as I said. Okay, let me go with this. So are businesses as a whole, are they adapting to this kind of, I suppose, this new wave of kind of what culture looks like, what leadership needs to look like? Is it they're jumping in with both feet, or is it the fact they're recognising they need to do something differently?
It's varying, if I'm honest. You've still got those that haven't recognised it yet. You always get this, don't you?
Yeah.
They will, or they won't survive because they won't have the leaders in place. It's not just about your current leaders, it's about your future leaders and preparing them. So you've always got a pool that aren't quite ready or in denial or too buried in the doing. You've got a group that are absolutely stepping in and going, actually, this isn't just about what we do and how we do it. This is about how we lead people, how we connect to clients, how we grow our business. They are stepping in to think about emotional intelligence. I call it conscious leadership, right? So really thinking about as a leader, I as a leader shouldn't be the doing, I should be leading, coaching and developing others. Then you've got those, and it's brilliant to see, and it's so magical when they go, this is a key differentiator for us. Because you can measure emotional intelligence, and I do profiling as well with individuals and teams to say, well, this is where you are now. And look at the shift that 6-12 months of coaching work, development work can make. Look at the difference it can make. And businesses like numbers and measurements. So to be able to show them that, and then the add value that can make to the business in terms of client growth, performance, team development, retention, all of those things, then you can have proof points that actually thinking about your business from a conscious leadership perspective leads to high performing organisations. And it's fun. It is really fun as well.
Honestly, so much. You're giving me so much to think about. Let me ask one final question to you.
Yeah.
When you go into businesses, when you go you go and you're doing some consulting, you're going in to speak to them, whatever.
Yeah.
Are there signs, or what are you looking for to turn around and say, yes, this business or these leaders, they're on the right path?
Yeah. The very fact that they're wanting to invest in, this is really important, invest in their leaders and their people during these challenging times. That shows me that they recognise it's important to keep developing their people, and that will be a differentiator, because it is all too easy. And I've been in organisations where it's been a quick saving to switch off any development. Actually, it burns you down the road. So 1, they're investing. 2, they are actively encouraging their people, particularly their leaders, to take the time out for development, because they recognise the value it's going to bring to them personally and professionally, not just for them, but for their teams. So they are investing not just the money, but the time, because as we know, time is very precious. And then lastly, they're making that connection between their leadership and their people and the growth of their business either into a high-performing organisation or maintaining it as a high-performing, because in this world, you need to be different. So what's going to be your differentiator? And that's what I love, identifying with people to help grow the business.
Brilliant. Thank you so much indeed for your time. It's been lovely speaking, and honestly, you've given me so much information to think about. Have a lovely day.